Ancient religion is often portrayed as a product of early humans sitting around a campfire, philosophizing about the origin of the cosmos. We frequently assume that early belief systems started with these kinds of neat philosophical categories, slicing the physical world into clean quadrants of earth, water, air, and fire. In reality, early cognition was entirely occupied by a constant barrage of immediate sensory inputs. Survival left little room for abstract maps. Ancestors didn't encounter elements. They encountered the deafening roar of a flood, the searing heat of a wildfire, and the violent terror of a storm. How does a brain purely focused on day-to-day physical survival develop the concept of an invisible, all-powerful, and highly organized divine being? The gods represent humanity's very first cognitive technology, a system built layer by layer, starting in the dirt rather than the heavens. The first step on this cognitive ladder involves the translation of raw natural forces into emotional significance. Nature gained urgent value through experience. Water was felt as relief and gratitude. The storm was experienced as fear and awe. This emotional weight triggered a hardwired biological mechanism, the brain's agency hack. When something important happens, the mind automatically searches for a cause. This tendency is an evolutionary advantage. If you mistake the wind for a predator in the tall grass, you lose a few seconds of peace. If you mistake a predator for the wind, you lose your life. Over-detecting agency is a survival strategy. The social brain applied this logic to nature itself. It mapped intention onto weather, transforming a mindless atmospheric event into a purposeful storm god. Over generations, these individual fears and experiences stabilized. They became cognitive attractors, shared cultural memories that whole communities agreed upon. Geography then acted as a filter for these attractors, emphasizing the forces most relevant to a community's survival. Cultures in fertile river valleys prioritized gods of renewal and growth. In arid deserts, where survival is more precarious, the divine focus shifted toward protection, fate, and strict social covenants. Early gods were directly engineered by this interaction between the local landscape and the human brain's need to find patterns and intentions within it. Ancient Iran provides a clear historical record of the next great leap, the transition from physical nature gods to internal moral principles. This progression starts with the figure of Anahita. She represents literal water, agricultural fertility, and the physical act of purification. Higher up the ladder, we find Mithra. The natural phenomenon of light has now evolved into the abstract concepts of trust, covenants, and social order. Vohumana, or the good mind, marks a shift where the sacred moves inside the human skull. At this level, divine power is expressed through ethical intention and individual thought. This cognitive climb reaches its peak with Ahura Mazda. All previous disparate sacred powers are unified here into a single concept of universal wisdom, truth, and creation. This specific historical sequence shows the human mind successfully transforming a raw physical force into an internalized ethical principle. The four elements were not the origin of the gods. Philosophical classifications like earth, water, air, and fire were a much later, more advanced layer on this exact same cognitive ladder. Modern scientific and mathematical frameworks evolved from this same cognitive drive to organize the world. There's a direct line between the ancient impulse to conceptualize a thunder god and the modern physicist's drive to understand atmospheric electricity. The invention of the sacred provided humanity's very first attempt to model, organize, and understand the overwhelming forces of existence. The gods were humanity's first grand unified theories, establishing the neurocognitive groundwork for all philosophy and science that followed.